Part 2. Fantasy, I Robbed Millions of Saints. Author, The Dream of a Million Saints. Chapter 11. In mid-air, the crimson giant dragon's shadow had completely collapsed, but the entire Qingyun Holy Land was silent. Countless Qingyun Holy Land disciples had their eyes widened and their jaws almost dropped to the ground. After several full breaths, everyone recovered, and then there was an uproar. How can it be? The Holy Sun's full blow was easily destroyed by this guy's sword. That guy didn't borrow Qin Feng's power, or even play the piano. He actually knows swordsmanship and combat skills? Doesn't Qin Feng's lineage only have musical combat skills? Now I am very doubtful about this guy's identity. Is he really the Lord of Qin Peak, someone he picked up casually from the roadside? He can't be a hidden master. What kind of initiation and transfer of skills is just our guess? Maybe he is originally in the Danyuan realm. No. It's impossible. How old is he? According to rumors, there are some peerless masters who, after practicing to a certain level, have the effect of rejuvenating themselves and staying young forever. This guy looks young, or he may be an old monster who has lived for thousands of years. A group of people were so horrified that they actually guessed Qin Changshen's true origin and identity. This made Qin Changshen burst into laughter. You are the old monster when you step on the horse, and your whole family is an old monster. Finally escaped. In Qin Changshen's arms, Gu Qingxiu was placed on the ground and sat cross-legged. At this time, a pair of beautiful eyes were staring at Qin Changshen with horror in her eyes. After the fight with Qin Changshen just now, she actually thought that the two of them were equal. In between. Now it seems that she is obviously holding back, just joking with her. Not to mention Yinlu's combat skills, at least she can't stop Qin Changshen's sword just now. Ah, no. Impossible. Just when everyone was shocked, a heart-rending scream suddenly came from mid-air. Murong Yunhai, the holy son of King Yun, had revealed his true form after the dragon's shadow was shattered. At this time, he, covered in blood, with blood stains on the corner of his mouth, it was obvious that he had been badly bitten by the backlash. But this was not the end. The black sword energy just now, after defeating the red giant dragon, still did not dissipate, and it was still there. Blast away at him. Ding ding ding. He slashed countless swords in succession, but it was like hitting an egg against a rock, unable to shake the strange black sword energy. As he watched, the black sword energy was getting closer and closer, and it was about to hit him. A group of disciples from Qingyun Holy Land were shocked. What on earth is this guy going to do? Does he still dare to kill the Holy Sun Qingyun? This is Qingyun Holy Land. Didn't you think about the consequences when you did this? A strange feeling flashed through Gu Qingxiu's heart. She didn't know what happened, but she actually wanted to remind this guy. However, before she could speak, someone couldn't sit still. Boy, stop it. What do you want to do? Stop it quickly, or you will be cut into pieces. Several screams and reprimands came at the same time. More than a dozen arrogant figures soared into the sky from several surrounding peaks. It was the peak masters of other nearby peaks who took action. Just stop if you say stop. Aren't I very shameless? Qin Changshen looked indifferent and said with a chuckle. He didn't take those peak masters seriously at all. In fact, the long sword in his hand, the black sword energy was even stronger. Qi La. In mid-air, Murong Yunhai could no longer hold on and was split in half by the black sword energy. A piece of blood mist filled the air. Snap, snap. The two halves of Murong Yunhai's body both fell to the ground, and his eyes were still wide-eyed, full of unwillingness and disbelief. He never thought that he would die in the hands of someone he had never seen. Moreover, the place where he died was still Qingyun Holy Land, his home ground. Seeing the scene and hearing the sound of the corpse falling to the ground, the entire Qingyun Holy Land once again fell into deathly silence. This guy actually killed Saint Qingyun. And he killed so cleanly. Crazy, this guy must be crazy. Even outside, no one dares to touch the Qingyun Holy Sun. This guy actually killed the Holy Sun in the Qingyun Holy Land. He was not looking for death like this. Doesn't he know what he will face if he does this? The anger of the 108 peaks of Qingyun Holy Land. Can he bear it? Many Qingyun Holy Land disciples were angry and surprised at the same time. They really couldn't understand who gave Qin Changsheng such courage. Everyone looked at Qin Changsheng and concluded that he would definitely die. But at this moment, Qin Changsheng was calm and unfazed. From the moment he snatched the Qingyun saint, Qin Changsheng already understood that the Qingyun Holy Land would definitely fight him to the death. In this case, so what if there is one more life of Holy Sun Qingyun? Fantasy, I robbed millions of saints. Author, The Dream of a Million Saints. Chapter 12. You little bastard, you actually killed the Holy Sun. Today, you will be cut into thousands of pieces and your bones will be shattered into ashes. The peak masters just now, while they were still on the way, found that the Holy Sun was already dead in two halves. He couldn't be more dead. They were all furious and furious. This guy is really too arrogant. If he is killed by Qingyun Saint, the Lord knows about this, and I'm afraid they will also be hated in their hearts. The only plan now is to capture this sun, otherwise there is really no way to explain it to Holy Lord Qingyun. While talking, several peak masters communicated with each other and blocked several directions around Qin Peak to prevent Qin Changsheng from escaping. Not long after, a dozen more distant peak masters also rushed over. Altogether, there are more than 20 people, and there are several peak masters on the way. Boom! A colorful beam of light rose into the sky. A peak master inspired his natal treasure, and saw a splendid and ancient palace appearing above his head, shining and shining. In the palace, fairy sounds could be heard from time to time, and the sounds of dragons and phoenixes could be heard. As the palace was sacrificed, the peak master's momentum was also rising steadily. Boom! A peak master inspired his own physique. I saw an ancient vicious ape with 3 heads and 6 arms appearing in mid-air, beating its chest with both hands, looking up to the sky and roaring with murderous intent. Boom! A peak master of Qi Peak even directly laid out the ancient formation of Qin. The huge chessboard completely enveloped Qin Feng. The 2 black and white pieces on the chessboard are all moving in a dragon snake killing formation. The target is Qin Changsheng. At this moment, all the peak masters used their special skills to strangle Qin Changsheng. It shocked a group of Qingyun Holy Land disciples to watch. It had not happened for many years that so many peak masters and so many powerful men from the Danyuan realm were dispatched at the same time. But today, because of such a little guy who looked to be only 20 years old, a group of people were mobilized. They wanted to see how that crazy guy would deal with it this time. With so many peak masters taking action at the same time, how many breaths can he last? Or maybe he has some ability to escape, so he is so confident. Just a few of you are not worthy of me playing a song for you. Let's wait until the rest of the people arrive. Facing the majestic figures around him, Qin Changsheng still looked as usual and said calmly. He just took a look through the system. Among these peak masters, the ones with the highest cultivation level are only at the 8th level of Danyuan realm. There are even some were only in the 6th level of Danyuan realm. As he spoke, Qin Changsheng actually had enough time to take care of himself. He walked to Murong Yunhai's body and picked up the crimson longsword that had fallen to the ground. This scene made everything, people looked at it, dumbfounded. This guy is too arrogant. There are so many Danyuan realms, but he doesn't take them seriously. Is he crazy or am I crazy? Even if he had the ability to escape, he wouldn't dare to be so presumptuous, under the siege of so many powerful men in the Danyuan realm, even if he could go to heaven and earth, he would never be able to escape. Gu Qingxiu, who was sitting cross-legged, was watching Qin Changshen's every move, her eyebrows slightly furrowed. Now, she is also in a state of confusion in her heart. What is this guy's identity and cultivation level, and what are you doing? I just came to take over Qinfen. How did things develop like this? Unfortunately, no one can answer her doubts. Everyone in Qingyun Holy Land, from the major peak masters to ordinary disciples, who is not confused and confused right now? The only guy who can answer everyone's questions, is holding a piece of cloth and wiping the red sword that he just picked up. Red Dragon Sword? The name is not bad. It's just that the grade is a bit low. A 6-star spiritual weapon, just use it? While wiping, Qin Changsheng said something. When everyone heard Qin Changshen's words, they became even more confused. This is a spiritual weapon, big brother. From 1 star to 9 stars, 6 stars are already pretty good, okay. In this era when spiritual weapons are scarce, the Holy Master only uses 8-star spiritual weapons. You still dislike it? And, there is no blood on the spiritual weapons, so you wipe it with a rag. What? There are so many Danyuan realm monks around, all ready to go. If you do this, you are not taking them seriously. You can't be so arrogant. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Fantasy, I robbed millions of saints. Author, The Dream of a Million Saints. Chapter 13. You, robbed the Qingyun saint and looted the Qingyun Holy Land. No wonder, the peak masters in Qingyun Holy Land all have injuries of various sizes. You should be the one who hit me. This is interesting. After hearing Qin Changshen's words, Muruoxi's expression was also very wonderful. Although he is the leader of the Scarlet Demon sect and a strong man in the Qi realm. But the matter of looting the Qingyun Holy Land and robbing the Qingyun saint, she didn't even dare to think about it. I never thought that the young man in front of me would do it. Right? I think it's quite interesting. So why don't we come again and rob your Qilian demon sect? Qin Changsheng touched his chin and said. When everyone below heard Qin Changshen's words, it was unknown how many times they collapsed due to him. This ruthless man is too brave to speak. Now the leader of the Red Lian demon sect, a strong man in the Qi realm, is standing in front of you. You actually said openly that you wanted to rob. Boy, you have a yellow mouth and white teeth, you have such a big breath. Little baby, I'm afraid you don't know how powerful our Red Demon sect is. Hey hey. Behind Muruoxi, the dozen or so elders of the Red Demon sect couldn't help but scolded. They were all powerful men from the 9th level of the Danyuan realm who followed Muruoxi to the eastern sea of chaos to find opportunities. When they heard that this guy in front of them was talking nonsense, they were all a little angry. However, Muruoxi stopped them with just one move. How? I'm already standing in front of you, you still want to rob our Scarlet Demon sect? Muruoxi smiled sweetly, looking at Qin Changsheng with a very playful look. This was also the first time she saw such an interesting person. That's natural, you're saint, I'm going to make a decision. Qin Changsheng said and glanced at concubine Murong. The little witch was so frightened that she quickly hid behind Muruoxi, with only a small head exposed, glaring at Qin Changsheng fiercely. You are so arrogant. Murong concubine waved her pink fist and said angrily. Everyone also agreed. This guy, far from being ordinary arrogant, is simply arrogant to the extreme. Interesting, very interesting. Muruoxi still had a smile on her face, and her eyes were full of charm. But at the same time as she smiled, the surrounding domain barrier with a radius of 100 miles suddenly became brighter. A huge pressure, falling from the sky. Everything poured on Qin Changshen. And other people, even if they were not the target of this coercion, felt heart palpitations and difficulty breathing for a moment. This is the sign of a strong person in the Qi-Si realm. The power of the domain. The so-called Qi-Si realm, the momentum is as majestic as the sea, and the true energy is as vast as the sea. At this state, you can already touch a trace of the great avenue of heaven and earth. In addition to your own Danshan, the true Qi is majestic. By borrowing the great avenue of heaven and earth, a realm can be formed. In this realm, the strong ones in the Qi-Si realm can borrow the power of heaven and earth and have absolute control. What now? Do you still want to rob my Qi Lian demon sect? Muruoxi asked with a slight smile. Today, no one can stop me. Even you, Qi realm can't do it? Qin Changsheng said, and the mysterious symbol appeared again in the center of his eyebrows. In an instant, Qin Changsheng's whole body was filled with ink-black flames. In this flame, threads of Taoist rhyme were like silk threads. The flow seemed to be devouring and destroying everything around. Including the pressure from Muruoxi, the power of the domain was instantly offset and devoured. The innate destructive spirit body, the flame of destruction. With this layer with the appearance of flames, Qin Changshen's whole body seemed to be covered with a layer of destructive battle armor composed of the power of flames. The tall and straight body, with endless Tao charm, looked down upon the nine heavens, the strongest form of the innate destructive spirit body. For the first time, he was completely inspired by Qin Changshen. Fantasy, I robbed millions of saints. Author, The Dream of a Million Saints. Chapter 14. Qin Changshen didn't know many of the peak masters of the 108th peak. But Qin Changshen knew the person who was the first to attack, the peak master of Crazy Blade Peak, Ning Tianxiao. This is a ruthless person. His path of cultivation can be said to be paved with flesh and blood, not other people's flesh and blood, but his own. In the body tempering stage, there are 4 realms: tempering flesh and blood, tempering meridians, tempering 5 internal organs, and tempering muscles and bones. Each realm has 9 heavens, a total of 36 heavens. The further you go, the harder it gets. Many monks spend their entire lives just in the 5 internal organs realm. Being able to cultivate to the realm of muscles and bones is already very remarkable. In many sects in the outside world, one can get the position of elder. As for the Danyuan realm, they already have the capital to establish a sect. Even in Qingyun Holy Land, the leader of a peak is at or above the 6th level of Danyuan realm, which is equivalent to the leader of a small sect. Ning Tianxiao had been weak since he was a child. At the age of 30, he was still in the 3rd level of flesh and blood, and was reduced to a temporary joke. However, by chance, Ning Tianxiao got the quaint palace above his head. It was rumored that it was the mansion of a demon god. Ning Tianxiao sacrificed his own flesh and blood. It took him 3 years to cut off the flesh and blood all over his body once, or even twice, and finally obtain the demon temple. Agree, merge with the demon temple. From then on, Ning Tianxiao, who was already in his 30s, advanced rapidly. At the age of 36, he entered the alchemy realm. He was admitted to Qingyun Holy Land by the Holy Lord Qingyun. At the age of 39, Ning Tianxiao entered the 6th level of the Danyuan realm and successfully challenged the master of the first peak, thus creating the current Crazy Knife Peak. Today, he is in his 40s and is already a strong man in the 7th level of Danyuan realm. And because of the hardships he suffered when he was young, he is very persistent in cultivation. Whether it is foundation or combat skills, he has become extremely powerful. He can be considered a strong person in the 7th level of Danyuan realm. For such a perseverant person, Qin Changshen is actually quite pleasing to the eye. However, what pleases the eye is what pleases the eye. If you dare to attack me, there is no need to talk about the rest. Seeing the hundreds of feet of golden sword light slashing down on his head, the music in Qin Changshen's hand suddenly turned. For a moment, the spiritual energy in the world trembled with the music. The next moment, a pitch-black giant axe condensed from the sky. As soon as it took shape, everyone felt cold all over their bodies. I don't know the origin of that giant axe. It was filled with endless evil energy, and there were even pitiful screams coming from the giant axe. It seemed that there was an abyss of purgatory hidden in the giant axe. At this moment, everyone couldn't help but have a thought flash in their hearts. How many dead souls were there under this giant axe? The fierce soldiers who have killed tens of thousands of people have never heard of being so powerful. Not tens of thousands, could it be hundreds of thousands, or even millions? Before he could think about it carefully, the pitch-black giant axe collided with Ning Tianxiao's golden sword light. He. There were no earth-shattering explosions or tremors, only a weird sound came from it. Then everyone saw an incredible scene. Ning Tian smiled, and the golden sword light that reached hundreds of feet, was actually being devoured. That's right, it's devouring. On top of that giant axe, there seemed to be tens of millions of innocent souls, devouring everything crazily. What's going on? Why is my true energy pouring into it uncontrollably? Ning Tianxiao's expression changed drastically, and he was extremely panicked. I thought it was just an ordinary battle, to test the depth of both sides. Who would have thought that the light of my sword collided with that strange and vicious soldier, but it seemed to be stained. And even the true energy in his body continued to pour into the long knife uncontrollably, to provide energy for those invisible souls of injustice. No matter how much he pulls, he still can't break free. Even if he borrows the power of the demon temple, it still won't work. In fact, the aura in the demon temple seems to like that fierce soldier and has the intention to devour the master. Discovering this, Ning Tianxiao was really panicked. He has gone through many tribulations in his life, and it is only because of this demon temple that he can reach where he is today. If it devours the master, it will be completely finished. Fantasy, I robbed millions of saints. Author, The Dream of a Million Saints. Chapter 15. Oh my God, how is that possible? The master of Crazy Blade Peak takes action. It's actually so vulnerable. That is the seventh heaven of Danyuan realm. This guy is definitely not in the Danyuan realm of initiation and transmission. The Lord of Qinfen was only at the 8th level of the Danyuan realm before, and the most he gained from the initiation was at the 1st or 2nd level of the Danyuan realm. How could he be so strong? There is no doubt that this is an old monster. The previous Lord of Qinfen was not so powerful. But what I can't figure out is how he can use the rhythm attack, and the previous Lord of Qin Peak couldn't use this kind of rhythm attack. I was already frightened when I saw the headless god of war. After this black giant axe appeared, my whole body couldn't help but tremble, and in my heart, there was endless panic. Me too, even from a long distance away, I feel like my soul is in chaos. What kind of peerless weapon is the condensed sound of his piano? The disciples of the Qingyun Holy Land who were watching the battle from a distance were shocked and panicked when they saw Ning Tianxiao's failure. The Qingyun Saint Gu Qingxiu below was also watching the battle with her head raised. On her beautiful face, her expression was very complicated. Qin Changshen's methods once again refreshed her understanding. If this guy had used this kind of attack against her, I'm afraid she would have died miserably. Chi-chi. Chi-chi. The weird sounds are still coming. The endless wronged souls from the pitch-black giant axe were still devouring or sucking them crazily. Ning Tian laughed so angry. At this moment, Ning Tianxiao's whole person no longer had the fighting spirit that he had just had, and only had a look of fear on his face. War. All he can think about now is how to break free. But no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't shake the pitch-black giant axe. Even the demon temple above his head showed signs of being ready to devour its master, which made his already panic-stricken heart even worse. "Surrender, or die." Qin Changshen's faint voice came. Originally Qin Changshen had no intention of subduing this guy, but just now, the system suddenly sent a message. After the system reminded him, the demon temple above Ning Tianxiao's head was still there. It is really an incredible treasure. The power that Ning Tianxiao can exert is less than 10%. Less than 10% of the power can make Ning Tianxiao achieve such achievements. If it is fully exerted, it will be absolutely heaven-defying. But, because of the sacrifice of flesh and blood after the sacrifice, the demonic temple was connected to Ning Tianxiao's destiny. If Qin Changshen directly killed people to seize the treasure, the already dilapidated demonic temple would be somewhat destroyed. Ning Tianxiao must be allowed to personally terminate the connection. That's right. For this reason, Qin Changshen said this. However, Qin Changshen thought that it was an act of great kindness, but in the eyes of the disciples of King Yun Holy Land, it was an even greater humiliation. Too arrogant, too arrogant. This guy actually wants to make the peak master of Crazy Knife Peak surrender. What does he want to do? Can't he directly occupy King Yun Holy Land? Killing people and killing people's hearts is nothing more than that. Master Ning, don't worry, I'm here to help you. This guy has some evil ways, let's all come together. The two peak masters shouted loudly again and took action with all their strength. One of them inspired the ancient fierce ape spirit body, and the whole person turned into a huge ancient fierce ape. He slapped Qin Changshen with a palm. The huge palm print was dozens of feet in diameter. When it was taken, it covered the entire area. There was a layer of blazing flames, like a ball of sky fire, overwhelmingly falling down on the ground. The other person triggered the chessboard around Qin Feng. Two chess pieces, one black and one white, move like a dragon and a snake, turning into two yin and yang fish connected end to end. While rotating rapidly, the two yin and yang fish slowly evolved into a Tai Chi Bagua pattern that covered the sky and the sun. Qian, Gan, Zhen, Zhen, Sun, Li, Kun, Dui. The 8 hexagrams constantly change in brightness and extinction, gathering a large amount of spiritual energy from heaven and earth into it, and then condensed into the 4 elements of water, fire, earth, and wind. For a moment, everyone seemed to feel, it's time for the seasons to change. The 4 elements have evolved countless attack methods, and the target is Qin Changshen. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Fantasy, I Robbed Millions of Saints. Author, The Dream of a Million Saints. Chapter 16. The Masters of Spirit Ape Peak and Chi Peak also took action. Our Master of Spirit Ape Peak is a strong man in the 8th level of Danyuan realm. He inspired the lineage of Spirit Ape Peak to inherit the spirit body of the ancient ferocious ape. He can break mountains and seas with one palm. Although we, the Masters of Chi Peak, are only at the 7th level of Danyuan realm, we are good at merging formations and Bagua Tai Chi. We use the spiritual energy of heaven and earth as chess pieces to play games with many changes. We can also deal with the 8th level of Danyuan realm. The two peak masters took action at the same time, and there was a stalemate over there with the master of the Crazy Blade Peak. This arrogant guy was absolutely unstoppable. Seeing the masters of Chi Peak and Spirit Ape Peak taking action at the same time, the disciples of King Yun Holy Land all breathed a sigh of relief. Especially the disciples of the two peaks were full of confidence in their own peak masters. However, facing the overwhelming and ferocious attacks from the two peak masters, Qin Changshen in mid-air didn't look at him and didn't care. He didn't see any special movements. He just continued to play the piano without even a sound. There is no chaos at all, it is still flowing and flowing, very beautiful. Boom, boom. 2 different voices suddenly came from the void. Everyone was stunned. How come the sound of drums appears while playing the piano? Before he had time to think too much, another peerless weapon condensed in the void. This time, it's a blood-red war drum. I don't know what material this war drum is made of. The skin and flesh on it still had bloody traces, as if something had just been killed and refined with the freshest flesh. And when the drumsticks appeared, countless people's backs were soaked in cold sweat instantly. Keel. The so-called drumstick is actually made from a huge dragon bone. When they looked at the war drum again, everyone had a bold idea. Drumsticks are made from dragon bones. Then this war drum couldn't be made from the skin of a dragon. Make a drum with a real dragon. How fierce and powerful this is. Bang. The drumsticks hit the war drum, a sound like a dragon's roar vibrated everyone's eardrums. Some people who had just entered the body-tempering realm were shocked to the point of bleeding from their 7 orifices, and they hurriedly ran further away. At the same time, a dragon soul phantom flew out from the war drum. After circling for a few times, it pounced towards the spirit ape peak master in mid-air. Before the dragon soul phantom's attack arrived, the arrogant one who had just been arrogant was the ancient vicious ape was already trembling. The dragon is the lord of all beasts. Putting aside the strength, long ways suppression alone made the ancient ferocious ape feel fear in his bones. Boom! The huge dragon claws collided with the ancient vicious ape's palm prints. The ancient vicious ape's palm prints immediately collapsed. Ah, no. Impossible. The voice of the master of Spirit Ape Peak sounded. He had been knocked out of his body at this time. His whole body was covered with bruises and blood, and he was retreating uncontrollably. The residual power of the blow just now made him reach the 8th level of Danyuan realm. They didn't dare to resist, which shows how strong it is. And, the attack of the Dragon Soul Phantom was not over yet. After killing the Spirit Ape Peak Master with one blow, it circled again and rushed towards the Tai Chi pattern in mid-air. Seal me. The Master of Chi Peak has already seen how powerful this Dragon Soul Phantom is, so he naturally does not dare to neglect it and quickly activates the entire Tai Chi Yin and Yang diagram. In an instant, Qian, Gan, Zhen, Zhen, Sun, Li, Kun, Dui are lit at the same time. The entire chessboard and Tai Chi diagram bloom with dazzling brilliance in black and white. However, click. The Dragon Soul Phantom strikes. A big hole was opened in the Yin-Yang Tai Chi pattern, and it also collapsed instantly. At this moment, everyone looked at the need in mid-air, dumbfounded. This guy is too strong. Fantasy, I robbed millions of saints. Author, The Dream of a Million Saints. Chapter 17. Am I dreaming? The 3 peak masters joined forces and were invincible. Not only is it invincible, it is simply a gap across the sky. With one move of Dragon Soul Phantom, he defeated 2 peak masters in a row. What realm is this guy in and what combat skills has he used? After the Danyuan realm, the first heaven is the first level. The 3 peak masters have 1 8th heaven and 2 7th heavens. Could it be that he is a strong person in the 9th heaven of the Danyuan realm? The 9th level of Danyuan realm. This guy must be an old monster who has lived for who knows how many years, he must be. It's really not the case. Have you forgotten that when entering our Qingyun Holy Land, you must have a bone age test? When this guy was brought in by the Lord of Qin Peak, I happened to be supervising the test. His bone age was 18 at the time, and he is 10 this year. 9 years old. 19-year-old Danyuan realm 9th level? How is this possible? I feel like I have lived in vain for more than 20 years, and I am still in the realm of tempering my meridians. According to rumors, those with demonic talents can practice extremely quickly. You can open up the Qi Si at the age of 20, this guy is probably a monster. And the combat skills used by this guy, Why do I feel that they are more powerful than the 8th grade combat skills used by our peak master? Could it be that he was still performing 9th grade combat skills? Heaven, the 9th level of Danyuan realm, coupled with the 9th level combat skills, this guy is too strong. Seeing Qin Changsheng playing the piano and easily defeating the Qi Peak Master and the Spirit Ape Peak Master, a group of Qingyun Holy Land disciples couldn't believe their eyes. Even if you stay in a stalemate for a while, let us have time to accept it. You defeated the 2 Peak Masters with such a light blow. We haven't reacted yet. And just when everyone's minds went blank, something happened again. I will surrender. Ning Tianxiao, the Peak Master of Crazy Knife Peak, suddenly knelt down on one knee in mid-air, lowered his head and said. He really couldn't hold on any longer. If he allowed the endless souls of injustice on that giant axe to be swallowed up, his cultivation level would probably be destroyed. Going back, even damaging his life elixir. Sacrifice of flesh and blood, and the result of years of hard training, he had to choose to bow his head. Seeing the Peak Master of Crazy Knife Peak, he surrendered directly. For everyone in Qingyun Holy Land, another heavy blow. Obviously, when this guy was fighting against the other 2 Peak Masters just now, the attack here did not stop. Coupled with the strong crushing situation there, the Peak Master of Crazy Knife Peak gave up completely. The Master of a Peak surrendered to others. Such a thing has never happened in Qingyun Holy Land. It was like a slap in the face. Let's just watch from the sidelines until I finish them off. Qin Changsheng said calmly, and with the changing of the music, he withdrew the huge black axe. Everyone in Qingyun Holy Land felt pain on their faces. Especially the disciples of Crazy Knife Peak, they were even more at a loss at this time. His Peak Masters were all surrendered, then where should these people stand? Who should they cheer for? What is even more incomprehensible to everyone is that, this guy just let Ning Tian laugh and watch the battle, while he has to face the rest alone. Dozens of Peak Masters. Did he not take Ning Tianxiao's combat prowess seriously, but he still had absolute confidence in himself. Ning Tianxiao himself did not have much emotional fluctuations. He lost even if you lose, you will surrender if you surrender. If Qin Changsheng asks him to watch the battle, he can just watch it. Dear Peak Masters, this guy is weird, we all must go all out, and everyone should stop hiding their clumsiness. Yes, attack at the same time, be sure to kill this beast. The dozens of Peak Masters around responded to their calls, and none of them dared to neglect. What happened to Qi Peak Master and others just now made them all feel as if they were facing a formidable enemy. Boom boom boom. The physiques were stimulated one by one, and the natal magic weapons were refined one by one. Dozens of Peak Masters took action at the same time. In an instant, all kinds of combat skills bloomed with all kinds of brilliance, extremely dazzling, dyeing the entire sky of Qingyun Holy Land into a mottled color. And all of them at the center of the combat skill attack. Qin Changsheng still ignored it, as if he couldn't see the overwhelming attack, and continued to play the piano to himself. Boom boom boom. Various combat skills have arrived above Qin Changsheng's head. That picture is very visually shocking. The entire sky is covered with various combat skills, the lowest of which is the 7th grade combat skill. But under the huge variety of combat skills, Qin Changsheng is playing the piano by himself, calmly and calmly. Playing the piano, it's as if they are not in the same world. At this moment, everyone had only one thought in mind. Is this guy stupid, crazy, or has he forgotten to take action? And at the moment when the sky was filled with combat skills and was about to come to an end, Qin Changsheng finally made a move. I saw one of his hands stroking the guqin repeatedly. A flowing musical note sounded. At that moment, everyone seemed to have an illusion. With the appearance of that musical note, the entire sky seemed to turn into a lake, and Qin Changshen's musical note was a huge stone that fell into the lake. In an instant, the sky above Qingyun Holy Land began to boil. Circle after circle of ripples, with Qin Changshen as the center, spread to all sides. Bang bang bang. The sound of explosions was like thunder in the sky, exploding continuously. Wherever those circles of ripples hit, the powerful attacks of the major peak masters exploded directly. In just a few breaths, the combat skills in the entire sky had completely dissipated, and everything was clear again. It was as if everything that happened just now had never happened. Only the rapid and slow gurgling of the piano sound at that time was still so sweet and pleasant to the ears. It seemed to flow into everyone's souls and purify all the noise and dust in the world. But even the sound of the piano that washes away everything, can't wash away the shock in everyone's hearts. At this time, all the disciples of Qingyun Holy Land, every eyeball was about to pop out. I don't even know how many people were so horrified that they forgot to breathe. Fantasy, I robbed millions of saints. Author, The Dream of a Million Saints. Chapter 18. Hiss, it hurts. I really wasn't dreaming. I would rather I was dreaming, otherwise I would really doubt myself and have lived in vain for more than 20 years. How strong is this guy who we have never taken seriously before? One person and one piano, fighting against dozens of powerful men in the Danyuan realm. And it looks extremely comfortable and relaxed. The tens of thousands of disciples in Qingyun Holy Land are looking at Qin Changshen in mid-air, who is still enjoying himself playing the piano and playing music. Their expressions are more and more wonderful. Some are frightened, some are envious, and some are incomprehensible. Dozens of them. The battle involving the powerful men of the Wandan Yuan realm was definitely the most intense battle that many people had ever seen in their lives. But the person who completely dominated this battle, turned out to be just a 19-year-old boy, which made them really I can't understand. Now, they have to admit. This guy named Qin Changshen is really capable of arrogance. However, it seems that they admitted it a bit early. How? You, the majestic master of a peak, only have this ability. And Holy Lord Qingyun, why haven't you come out yet? I'm a little bored. Qin Changshen's voice sounded from mid-air. It was obviously a light and gentle voice, accompanied by the beautiful music of the piano. But to everyone's ears, Qin Changshen's voice was simply the devil's voice from hell. So outrageous. It's simply that there is no crazier one, only more crazier ones. You just slapped the faces of the major peak masters, but you were still thinking about it, waiting for the Holy Lord to show up. And after listening to Qin Changshen's words, the faces of dozens of peak masters turned red with anger. There are even a few people who were badly hurt by the combat skills just now, and now they can't suppress them, and a mouthful of old blood spurts out. They had never imagined that so many powerful men in the Danyuan realm would attack together, only to be easily crushed by a young man. The most hateful thing is that this guy is not only strong in combat, but also has an extremely vicious mouth. He will be humiliated even if he is defeated. However, things are not over yet. Forget it, since your Holy Lord hasn't come forward yet, I can only continue to play a song for you to enjoy. Qin Changshen said calmly. The piano music that had just calmed down became turbulent again. The whole world suddenly changed color, and black spiritual clouds condensed one after another, and it was so dark. Suddenly, everyone seemed to hear the sound of the golden horse. Sound. Then, a huge ancient battlefield appeared in the entire world. Broken limbs were everywhere, and mountains of bones formed. In the ancient battlefield, huge black demon spirits, holding demon soldiers, looked like demon gods of the abyss. Kill. There were hundreds of huge demonic spirits, roaring into the sky at the same time, with overwhelming momentum, and charged towards dozens of peak masters. Boom. The master of Chi Peak was the closest and was the first to be attacked. he instantly used his own black and white chessboard. But in the hearts of many people, the extremely powerful and mysterious black and white chessboard was vulnerable to a blow at this time. It was easily defeated by the demon spirit holding the magic knife. Then, the dark sword light struck the Chi Peak master fiercely. Puff! The master of Chi Peak was cut into a ball of blood mist by the sword light. Suddenly, the entire Qingyun Holy Land disciples were completely frightened. The master of Chi Peak, a powerful person in the 7th level of Danyuan realm, died like this without even leaving a body. And this is just the power of one giant demon spirit. How powerful will hundreds of them be together? Oh no! Another scream sounded. A peak master wearing golden armor and holding a spear was also hit by the attack of a huge demon spirit, cutting him in half. Bang, bang, bang. A loud noise represented the death of a peak master. The entire Qingyun Holy Land was like a human purgatory at this time, like Ashura's slaughterhouse. Blood rained all over the sky, and many of them fell on the bodies and faces of the Qingyun Holy Land disciples. But at this time, they had forgotten to use their chi to dodge. There is only one dead thought in everyone's mind. After today, will Qingyun Holy Land still exist? It's no wonder that they have such thoughts. Qin Changshen's power really makes them refresh their knowledge again and again. From the very beginning when I fought against the saint, they thought that this guy would not be a match for the saint. But in the end, the saint was defeated. Later, when they fought against the Holy Sun, everyone felt that that guy was no match for the Holy Sun. After all, the Holy Sun possessed a red dragon spirit body and had 8th level combat skills. But the result was, the Holy Sun was directly killed by him. Later, the major peak masters took action. Everyone still feels that the major peak masters will win. After all, this is Qingyun Holy Land, and every peak master outside is capable of establishing a sect. But now, these peak masters they considered to be super powerful were being slaughtered by that guy at will. They really couldn't determine how strong that guy was. Holy Lord, why haven't you appeared yet? Will Holy Lord be his opponent? When this guy meets the Holy Lord again, will he show even more powerful combat power? What they didn't know was, Qin Changshen was also a little surprised at this moment. I seem to be stronger than I thought. Yes, Qin Changshen is a little confused now. Although, from the moment he started to plunder Gu Qingxiu, he was full of loneliness and courage and wanted to fight to the end. But he didn't expect what the outcome would be like, and he even prepared a retreat, turning around and running away if he lost. I thought, this would be a fight to the death. But I didn't expect, it would be so easy. Is it because of my own, immortal destruction spirit body? Although this thing did not inspire, it still blessed Qin Changshen's combat power. Thinking about it carefully, it seems that there is just such a thing, and Qin Changshen doesn't quite understand its power. The innate destructive spirit body is actually so strong. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Fantasy, I robbed millions of saints. Author, The Dream of a Million Saints. Chapter 19. I didn't expect that I was so strong. If others knew what Qin Changshen was thinking now, I'm afraid countless people would faint to death. Do you want to be so irritating? I am willing to surrender. Suddenly a voice came. It was a peak master from the 8th level of the Danyuan realm. After struggling to support himself, he shouted loudly. The disciples of Qingyun Holy Land couldn't help but look stern. Another peak master, has he chosen to surrender? I am also willing to surrender. I will surrender, please stop. After the first one, there was a second one, and more peak masters opened their mouths to surrender. Qin Changshen's music did not change much, but as long as someone shouted the word surrender, the huge demon in front of him with the spirit will dissipate, even if his life is hanging by a thread, as long as he surrenders, he will be spared instantly. Not long after, all the huge demon spirits in the mid-air dissipated. Only more than 30 peak masters were left, facing Qin Changshen direction, knelt down on one knee. They all chose to surrender. Actually, I don't want you to surrender either. As long as you don't take action against me, I won't bother to kill you. Qin Changshen's lazy voice came. All the disciples of King Yun Holy Land almost vomited blood when they heard Qin Changshen's words. What have you done to these peak masters? Now this sentence suddenly comes. But when they thought about it carefully, everyone suddenly realized, what this guy said was actually true. It seemed that from the beginning, apart from challenging the saint, he had not taken the initiative to attack anyone else. It was just that others wanted to kill him first, so he killed them back. I really surrender sincerely. That's right, strength is the most important thing, we admit it, we will follow you from now on. A group of peak masters have all worked hard to survive in this world where force is paramount for decades. Naturally, their thoughts are different from others. They thought Qin Changshen was testing their sincerity, so they still knelt in the air and did not dare to move. But Qin Changshen, what he said was the truth. Although in the eyes of the disciples, these peak masters were extremely powerful and capable of establishing sects. But in the eyes of Qin Changshen, they were nothing more than that. Just kidding, after plundering a saint girl, he is already so strong. After plundering a few more, his leveling up speed will be so fast. These people follow him, he feels that it is a burden. As for whether it will leave any consequences, it is a fantasy. In a short time, we will no longer belong to the same world. What troubles will there be? I really don't need your surrender, and I don't need any followers, except for your Saint Gu Kingxiu, everyone else, just forget it. Qin Changshen continued. For a moment, all the major peak masters looked embarrassed and confused. He and others followed him, he actually disliked this guy. Yes, in terms of qualifications, we can't compete with the innate immortal spirit. Compared with the saints who have physical bodies. But we are also monks in the 7th and 8th heavens of the Danyuan realm, okay. Beings who are qualified to establish sects outside, we will not be worshipped wherever we go. This is the first time, to be treated like this disgusting. As for a group of King Yun Holy Land disciples, they were even more shocked and speechless. What on earth did this guy mean? They were still considering that their peak master and others had surrendered. They people, why don't you kneel down too? Now, even the peak masters of the 7th and 8th levels of the Danyuan realm are despised like this. They are even embarrassed to kneel down and surrender. And the one with the most complicated mood is, there is none other than King Yun Saint Gu Kingxiu. She was named by Qin Changshen, and she is the only one who accepts surrender. But does she have a choice whether to surrender or not? From the beginning, she has been controlled by this guy. Now that this guy has shown fighting prowess, what courage does she have to resist? The only choice, is probably the plans he proposed before. Become a slave, a maid, or be a disciple. What happened? Everything is going crazy here, why doesn't Holy Lord King Yun come out? Qin Changshen's voice came again, making everyone in the mess smile bitterly. This guy is really ruthless. Now, he is still thinking about fighting Holy Lord King Yun? Return, Your Majesty. A few days ago, in the direction of the Chaos Sea in the east, there was an auspicious sign from the sky, which was a sign of the birth of a strange treasure. The Holy Lord, and a group of powerful peak masters from the 9th level of the Danyuan realm rushed there, hoping to gain a chance. A peak leader said, hesitating for a moment about the title of Qin Changshen. This ruthless man doesn't accept the followers of himself and others, so he doesn't even know what to call him. But, unfortunately, no one knows about his problem. Dare not answer. No. What a coincidence. Qin Changsheng said speechlessly. No wonder, even now, Holy Master Qingyun has not shown up, and no peak master from the 9th level of Danyuan realm has taken action. It turns out, they are not at home. When everyone heard Qin Changsheng's words, they were even more speechless than him. Yes, it's such a coincidence. Otherwise we wouldn't have to be bullied like this by you. If that's the case, then I won't be polite. You, hand over all your stored magic weapons from each peak, and exercises. Don't hide anything, or you'll be responsible for the consequences. There is also the treasure pavilion in Qingyun Holy Land. Who is in charge of the activation token now? Get it too. I don't want to break open the treasure house with brute force, what a pity it would be to destroy the treasures inside. Qin Changsheng said quietly. When everyone heard what he said, they doubted their lives again. What is he going to do? Ransack the entire Qingyun Holy Land? Do you want to be so ferocious? Fantasy, I robbed millions of saints. Author, The Dream of a Million Saints. Chapter 20. In a world where force is paramount, it is normal to fight and plunder each other, and massacres of families do happen from time to time. But I have never heard of one person's shocking act of looting a holy place. Because of this, after Qin Changsheng finished what he said, everyone in the Qingyun Holy Land felt their heads buzzing. The ferocity of this guy has been setting the limits for everyone. But Qin Changsheng himself didn't feel anything. He plundered the holy girl, killed the holy son, and turned the entire Qingyun Holy Land into the state. When Holy Lord Qingyun comes back, it will definitely be a fight to the death. In this case, what's there to be polite about? Naturally, I have to loot it and strengthen my foundation. What he is looking forward to more is, when Holy Lord Qingyun comes back and finds that his holy land has been directly emptied out, how wonderful his expression will be. Why, do you have any objections? Seeing that the major peak masters did not move, Qin Changsheng said coldly. He was too lazy to kill these people. On the one hand, he wanted to make them work as porters for him. If these people have any objections, at worst, he will replace them with a new batch of people. The low porter is ready. Don't dare. I am willing to give it to you. This is my Xiaoyu Peak storage magic weapon. All the magic weapons are in it. This is my Tai Peak storage magic weapon. All the magic weapons are in it. This is the opening token of Treasure Pavilion. The major peak masters had been convinced by Qin Changsheng's fighting power just now. How could they dare to neglect them? After being glanced at by Qin Changsheng, they all handed over their storage magic weapons one by one. Including Ning Tianxiao from Crazy Blade Peak. He now vaguely understood why Qin Changsheng wanted to keep him in the first place. Followers. Those peak masters who are more powerful than me are looked down upon by others, let alone myself. The only thing that can catch his eye is probably his own demon temple. Although he knew very well that the demon temple was his biggest support so far. Without the demon temple, his cultivation would probably come to an end. But he had no choice. If you hand over the Exorcist Temple, you can at least retain your current cultivation level, the 7th level of the Danyuan realm. If you don't hand it over, it will definitely lead to death. Therefore, even though he was in great pain, he still cruelly cut off the connection with the demon temple and delivered it to Qin Changsheng. Not long after, Qin Changsheng already had dozens of storage magic weapons in his hands, which made a group of Qingyun Holy Land disciples look at them with greed and trembling in their hearts. With so many treasures from the Peak Master, there are definitely a lot of good things in them. It's good now, this guy caught them all in one fell swoop. However, you people are a bit poor. Qin Changsheng glanced at these stored magic weapons and shook his head with some disappointment. He had just asked the system to quickly screen them. In addition to Ning Tianxiao's demon temple, which was listed as worthy of collection by the system. Other people's things are not considered by the system at all. When everyone heard Qin Changshen's words, full of disgust, they felt the urge to vomit blood. Especially the major peak masters, their faces were blue and white. Bullying, you are too harsh, you are really bullying others too much. You robbed us, and you still dislike our things. This is because you dislike our people and dislike our things, all kinds of dislike. Qin Changshen, he didn't care about their feelings, so he just put away the broken demon temple, and threw the rest of the stored magic weapons in front of Gu Qingxiu with a wave of his hand. Little maid, just keep the loot for me for now. Qin Changshen said, and with a thought he released the confinement of Gu Qingxiu's soul. Finally regained his freedom, Gu Qingxiu quickly stood up. This feeling of being able to control one's body is really great. However, suddenly he heard Qin Changshen's words made Gu Qingxiu almost fall down again. Little maid? Keep the loot. Didn't I make a choice yet? Why did I become a little maid? Besides, you really don't understand these things. Eye-catching. Just threw it to me so casually.